It's officially time for Valentine's Day nails, so let me show you how to do this super easy and simple polygel nail design using my non-dominant hand. So rather than doing a full new set today, I'm going to be showing you how I changed the design on an existing set. So this New Year's set, this is what we're going to remove. But if you're curious how I did do this set from start to finish, I'm going to put in a very sped up version here. But if you'd like to see the full in-depth version, you can go to the video just before this one on my page and see how I did this set in detail, step by step with my non-dominant hand, prep, application, shaping, nail art. But for this particular video, we're actually just gonna be starting with removing the design from this set and then doing new nail art over it. Because I had only had it on for about a week, I didn't have much growth, so I was able to change the design without adding more new product. But if you wanted to do a fill, that's totally possible. I have other videos that show how to do that. But if you like to change your nails often, it's totally possible to keep the polygel base as is and just remove the design and do a new nail art design from there. So that's what I'll be showing you. But again, if you'd like to see the full video for this, it's gonna be linked above and it's also on my page if you wanna see more detail on that. So fast forward, let's start with removing the existing design. I've already removed some of the rhinestones, but to get everything off, I'm actually gonna take a medium grit 5-in-1 bit. This is from Pana. And we're just gonna take that and keeping it parallel to the nail plate, we're just gonna focus on removing the rest of those gems and that gel polish. We are using a dust collector. I'm using the Young Nails one in this case, and I'm also using my Melody Susie e-file. I'm using it at a fairly high speed, but because I am using my left hand, that's my non-dominant hand. If you're not super comfortable with an electronic file, you can use a hand file, or you can just use it at a low speed and just kind of work your way up as you get more used to it. And we're just running it along the rest of the nail as well, just to remove any top coat. But I am trying to focus only on the gel polish and the stones because I don't want to remove too much structure. I'm not looking to do a fill. I'm really just looking to remove the design and the top coat and have a nice clean base to go in with for a new nail art design. And as you can see, this is a tapered bit. So you can use the body of the bit, which I'm pointing to here, versus like the very top of it. And that's what I would focus on using to remove the gel polish and the top coat. I feel like the top of the bit is really meant more for the cuticle area. And I think that's why they call it a 5-in-1 bit, because it has multiple uses. So I like to use the actual body and wider part of the bit for stuff like this. Next, we're gonna take a very fine grit sanding band. This is a 240 grit sanding band from Pana. I'm just running it along my hand file to kind of season it and get rid of the rough edges. And I'm just gonna use this to basically buff and smooth out everything. Make sure it's all nice and smooth. You could use like an actual buffer as well if you feel more comfortable with that. But I'm just using this on my e-file and basically running it along the entire surface of the nail. But again, using light pressure, we're not looking at removing any product. We're just looking to kind of remove the design, make sure everything is nice and smooth. And the structure of the nail is basically gonna stay as is. We're not gonna do a fill or anything like that in this case. I'm also trying to keep my file as parallel as possible here because we are using our other hand. Of course, it can be a little bit tricky, but this is where working at a lower speed can really help. And the more you do this, the more you'll get used to it. And then just to finish things off, I'm just squaring off the free edge just a little bit. I like a very sharp and crispy free edge. I want it to be very square, so I just wanted to clean that up just a little bit. Nothing too much there. Now we're gonna remove all that dust and dehydrate and cleanse with some Young Nails Swipe. And we're gonna go right into nail art. So we're gonna be using this really nice red glitter color called Rudolph from Madame Glam. As you can see, it's very glittery, but it's a really nice red color for Valentine's Day. It's actually from the Christmas collection, but I think it works well for Valentine's Day. And we're just gonna start polishing the thumb, and the pinky is gonna be the same color as this as well. We're gonna polish both nails entirely. And when it comes to polishing, either with your non-dominant hand or your dominant hand, what I like to do is I like to cover the majority of the nail, meaning like the middle and bottom and free edge, and then I start working my way towards the cuticle and filling in those corners as much as I can. But I actually do take a liner brush to basically fill in the cuticle area as closely as I can. It's just a lot easier. Again, whether I'm using my non-dominant or dominant hand, I think this is the easiest way to get a clean cuticle when polishing. You could also try to kind of inch your brush and do that, but because I'm using my other hand, this is actually better for me. It gives me more control if I'm using a small brush. So I just take a little bit of gel polish on my nail art palette and I start basically inching my way towards the cuticle. And of course you want to try to keep this as clean as possible. But as I mentioned, using your opposite hand is obviously going to be a little bit more difficult, so this does take a little bit longer and more control, but of course practice makes perfect. So we're just going to go ahead and try to fill in those blank spots as best as we can. And then I do take just a little bit more gel polish and go over everything with the second coat once everything is cured. Cure between each layer, and before I cure, I do wipe off the excess on the edges just to make sure the shape is not getting too bulky and there's not too much excess gel polish on the side walls. And we are just gonna go ahead and top coat that now with our Koopa gel top coat. As I mentioned, we're gonna keep the pinky and the thumb simple and just polish the entire thing. Because I am using my non-dominant hand, I've said that a million times, but I'm trying to make the design not too complicated, but doable. But of course, this is all good practice. So we're gonna go ahead and do the same with the pinky. We're polishing the bottom and the free edge first, filling that all in. There's just something about polishing that part of the nail first. It kind of makes you feel more confident working your way up versus the opposite. And then we can go ahead and take our liner brush. You can take any small liner brush, micro detailer brush, whatever you're comfortable with, and just go ahead and fill in those gaps as best as you can. And as always, all products will be in the description. I will list the name of the product, and then if I have a link for it on Amazon, if it is from Amazon, I will put that in there as well. We're gonna keep the rest of the design simple. We're gonna do a simple outline design on the other two fingers, the pointer and the ring finger, using our liner brush. We're just basically drawing lines on the edges and connecting them. We're gonna draw one across the free edge and then connect them on either side. If you struggle with line work, this is a really great and fun design that you can practice that'll help you get more comfortable with your brush. And as you can see, my brush is hanging on for dear life. It has just been through a lot this year, so I need to get new brushes. But anyways, this is a really nice design that you can use to kind of practice your line work and get more comfortable with using your brush with your opposite hand. And this video is going to be really short. All of my previous videos have been really long lately, so I wanted to do something a little simple and do a simple Valentine's Day look as well. So we're just going to go ahead and finish off the ring finger with this same outline design. As you can see, I'll draw a line and then kind of make it thicker and go back in as needed. So I would recommend trying that technique. And then the really fun part of this design was the rhinestone heart. So we're gonna take these gems, they're just random gems from Michael's. You can use any red rhinestones that you have with a flat back. We're gonna take some McCart rhinestone glue. I like to put it on my nail art palette, just squeeze a little bit out. And then I'll take a dotting tool and I'll just spread it across. The heart is gonna take up most of the nail, so I ended up actually using a brush to spread out the rest of it and make sure it's nice and even. And then leave the glue uncured while we place each stone one by one. I'm gonna focus on placing the larger stones kind of at the corners. I try to create half the heart first and then basically mirror that on the other side. Don't worry if all the stones are not in the perfect position, because you can just kind of shift them around as needed once they're on the nail and kind of just see where the stones need to be moved to create that heart shape. If you focus on making everything kind of symmetrical and mirroring it, you should end up with something like this. Then you can go ahead and fully cure it and then apply your top coat on the rest of the nail, in and around the rhinestones and the rest of the nails as well. And then once you finish your top coat, this is the final result. If you enjoyed this simple tutorial, thank you for watching. I have more tutorials on my page and I'll see you in my next video.